Every Jedi who lived through Order 66 lost the same order, but Cal Kestis lost the chance to ever finish becoming one. Older survivors carried memories of the life they had already built inside the temple. Obi-Wan Kenobi kept decades of council work and one failed apprentice. Yoda kept centuries of teaching. Cal kept 2 years of drills he had barely started to take seriously. Across the Fallen Order novelization, the Battle Scars novel, and the Kanan the Last Padawan comic, a very different survivor story emerges than the ones most fans know from the films. Order 66 hit every Jedi at a different point in their life. Quietly, that single fact explains most of the difference between them. Obi-Wan Kenobi lost a career decades in the making. He had passed the Jedi trials, sat with the High Council, trained his own apprentice through the Clone Wars, and led armies across half the galaxy. Yoda lost a council he had chaired for centuries. Even Kanan Jarrus, still a Padawan on collar when his own clone troops turned on his master Depa, had grown up inside the temple. Kanan had eaten there, meditated there, and learned the names of the Order's teachers by heart. When the Purge came for him, he lost a childhood he had already lived. Cal Kestis had almost none of that behind him. In the Fallen Order novelization, Cal is aboard a Venator-class Republic warship called the Albedo Brave, running physical drills under Master Jaro Tapal. The drills are basic combat prep, the type of exercise a Padawan does at the earliest edge of his training. The opening pages have Cal calling Tapal's classes boring, sometimes pointless. He has not yet accepted the tradition, and he is still resisting it as homework. The clones on that ship did not just take his master Jaro Tapal's life, they killed the entire Jedi tradition that was 3 seconds away from being handed to him. Every other named survivor lost a Jedi identity they had already built. Cal lost the chance to ever build one. He was not a fallen master, and he was not even a Padawan on his last mission before knighthood. He was a half-carved statue that stopped being carved. Kanan Jarrus, whose story is told in the Kanan comic, shows what a slightly further along Padawan looked like when the same order came down. Kanan, born Caleb Doom, was already leading small clone units into skirmishes on collar with Depa at his side. He had been given real command responsibility. He had bled beside his master. When his troopers turned on him, he lost a working partnership. Cal never got that far. His partnership with Tapal was still classroom-shaped when it ended. Master Tapal dies protecting Cal's escape pod, but before he goes, he gives Cal the crystal from his own lightsaber and orders him to survive. The last real Jedi lesson Cal receives is a battlefield goodbye. Whatever teaching should have come after it, the trials, the meditations, and the philosophy sessions that would have finished the shape of him, never comes. Cal's memory of Tapal in the years after is not a clean grief. It is guilt tangled with hero worship, memories scrambled by trauma, and a growing sense that he never got to know his master as an equal. Every other Padawan of that generation, Kanan Jarrus included, at least had time to argue with their master, disappoint them, be forgiven, and grow. Cal only got the goodbye. What he did after that made the gap between him and the older survivors even wider. Older Jedi treated survival as a place to keep practicing quietly. Obi-Wan Kenobi meditated in the desert on Tatooine, kept himself close to the Force, and stayed within reach of the boy he was there to guard. Yoda withdrew to Dagobah and kept his teaching alive for the day it would be needed again. While the older survivors spent 5 years quietly practicing what they knew, Cal Kestis spent the same 5 years trying to forget everything he had learned. Kanan Jarrus, once he pulled himself out of grief on collar, still carried the lessons of Depa with him and later handed those lessons to Ezra Bridger on the Ghost. Cal did the opposite. He hid in the shipbreaking yards of Bracca, an Outer Rim scrapyard world where wrecked Republic warships are torn down for parts, and made himself forget on purpose. On Bracca, Cal lives by 4 survival rules: do not stand out, accept the past, and trust no one. Beneath those, he keeps a 5th rule he shares with nobody: do not reach within, because using the Force would light him up to the Empire like a signal flare. He closes the door on it deliberately. 5 years of active shutting down, not 5 years of quiet practice. The cost shows in the exact moment he tries to be a Jedi again. When Cal finally lifts his lightsaber on Bracca to save his friend Prof, his old combat forms come back only in fragments. His connection to the Force reads as damaged and cracked open. His muscle memory returns first at random, and only later begins to arrange itself back into something usable. Every attempt at meditation drops him straight back into the memory of Tapal dying on the Albedo Brave, so he has avoided the practice for years. A Jedi's training is not just skills, it is a way of listening. Meditation is how a Padawan learns to hear the Force at all. Cal has traded that listening for silence. He can still feel small pulls of intuition on Braga, enough to save his own life when a rig collapses, but he cannot sit with the Force and hold it steady. The doorway is boarded from the inside. The version of him who joins Cere Junda's crew aboard her ship, the Stinger Mantis, is a survivor who has to be rebuilt before he can be used. If you want to see more videos like this one, a quick subscribe means you will always be first to know. Once Cal comes back to himself, the shape of the galaxy he wakes up into does most of the rest. Every other Jedi survivor woke up into a galaxy that still remembered them, but Cal Kestis woke up in a galaxy that had already forgotten what a Jedi was. Early on aboard the Mantis, Cal asks Cere Junda directly about the Jedi Council. Her answer is simple: the Council is gone. One sentence, and everything he had suspected for the last 5 years is confirmed. The Archive is gone. The temple on Coruscant has been gutted and reflagged as an Imperial building, and the Elder Chain of Masters passing down forms and philosophy has been cut clean. Whatever he becomes from here, he becomes without their sign-off. The teachers who fill the vacuum around him would have been kept far from any Padawan under the old rules. Jaro Tapal is dead, and Cal's own former master survives only in Force visions and in the muscle memory of drills half remembered. Cere Junda is a lapsed Jedi. Deep into the mission, she opens up about what she had done. After her Imperial captivity, she was so afraid of what she had touched in the dark side that she severed her own connection to the Force. She teaches Cal without being able to reach the Force herself for most of the story. Cordova, the Jedi archaeologist Cere once served, is thought long dead by the time Cal ever meets his voice. Cordova saw the Purge coming and knew a survivor would need his teaching, so he recorded his lessons into a small droid called BD-1. It is the only reason any of that teaching survives. The one thing all 4 of Cal's teachers share is that none of them belong in the order he is still trying to be part of. Then there's Merrin. On Dathomir, she is introduced as a Nightsister, trained in a magic the old order would have called dark side leaning at best. She joins the Mantis crew, but not as a student. She frames herself openly as a fellow survivor of the attack that wiped out her people, and Cal treats her that way from the beginning. By the time Cal's later missions with the Mantis crew begin, Cere is not trying to rebuild the Order in its old form. She is steadily building a hidden archive of Jedi artifacts funded through the crew's ongoing work. She treats her job as preservation, not restoration. Her working plan for the future assumes she may not live to see it. Tapal's discipline pushes him to control his emotions. Cordova's droid-recorded lessons push him to stay curious about the wider galaxy. Cere teaches him to hold back, while Merrin shows him that other traditions know real things about the Force. He has to sort out which lesson applies to which moment on his own. The new definition shows up in his skill set before it shows up in his words. For 5 years on Braca, Cal climbed the ribs of dead Venator-class Star Destroyers, wall ran across collapsing catwalks, swung on cables between wrecks, and sliced open ship computers to strip parts and sell them off. None of it was Jedi work. All of it became the exact skill set he uses in every mission after Braca. Every Jedi Master of the Old Order was trained to command clone armies in the open field, while Cal Kestis was accidentally trained to move under the floor. When the Empire hunts him, he does not answer with battlefield commands. He answers with infiltration. He climbs Imperial refineries on Zepho, the ancient home world of a long-dead Force-sensitive civilization, sneaks through Sork Tormo's arena on Ordo Iris, a black market gladiator moon, and slips past patrols on Kashyyyk. He infiltrates the Fortress Inquisitorius on Nur, the underwater Imperial base where the Inquisitors are trained, entering through a submerged access route. The lightsaber tells the same story. On Ilum, the sacred Jedi Kyber Crystal world, Cal's Kyber Crystal splits mid-construction, and he turns the accident into a design choice, building a single double-bladed hilt out of 3 broken pieces. Tapal's old emitter, the body of Cere's saber, and his own cracked crystal. The finished weapon separates cleanly into 2 single sabers whenever he needs it to, a single Jedi carrying a weapon that becomes 2, depending on the fight. His Force techniques follow the same logic. His signature power is freezing a single enemy in place long enough to cut them down alone, and he uses it for the first time on a Braca stormtrooper. Almost every combat scene from there forward keeps that shape, a lone Jedi against a lone target with enough time to close the gap. He carries no army behind him. Battle scars open on a single image that captures the whole shift. Cal is planting sabotage charges in open vacuum on an asteroid held by the Haxion Brood, a bounty hunter syndicate that put a price on his head. In mag grip boots, he stripped off one of their hunters he had killed, a Jedi Knight in a vacuum suit, wearing dead criminals' gear, planting charges on a ship the Empire does not even know he's on. Cal makes his own kit, from a scavenged climbing rig to slicing tools built out of junkyard cast-offs. Even his ship, the Mantis, is a former smuggler's vessel refitted for a Jedi crew that never expected to have one. Every piece of his working life would have been beneath a temple-trained master. All of it is what a hunted Jedi actually needs. Cal is not a Jedi trained by the temple. He's a Jedi trained by the junkyard, the arena, and the interrogation cell. Every surviving Jedi in Cal's close orbit either falls to the dark side or comes within a single choice of falling, and he is watching it happen in real time. During the Dathomir arc, Seer Junda tells him the truth about her own history. Her own Padawan, Trilla Sidori, was captured during the same period and used against her under interrogation. Broken by what she was made to watch, Seer reached into the dark side and killed the men who had captured her. Trilla later returns not as a rescued Jedi, but as the second sister, one of the Inquisitors, the Empire's fallen Jedi hunters trained to track down survivors like Cal. Still on Dathomir, the surviving Jedi Master, Taron Malicos, offers to teach Cal a different way to survive, one free of the Order's rules. The offer is not coming from an Inquisitor. It is coming from a Jedi Master who has already stepped over the line and is looking for company. Cal listens for longer than he should. Cal himself briefly crosses that line. In the Dathomir tomb sequence, a Force vision shows him a phantom of Master Tapal. Cal strikes the phantom down in anger, and his kyber crystal shatters at the end of the vision as if scoring the choice. Later on Nur, Cal gets a direct look at what he could become. The vision shows him standing in Inquisitor armor, eyes gone yellow, a future self already fallen, staring back. Cal never gets an easy correction. No Yoda appears to explain what went wrong and how to fix it. No older master arrives to talk him through the vision. What he gets instead is a shattered kyber crystal and a mirror image that has already made the choice he is still resisting, and the lesson has to be assembled on his own. The mission to Zamara, a fringe world where the crew hunts a rogue Imperial project, picks up that thread. For a Jedi, a one-track obsession is dangerous. When Cal finally asks her outright whether he could end up like Trilla, Seer does not tell him no. She just says sure twice. The second one is the answer. With no council to remove him, no Elder Master to intervene, and no oath left to enforce, the only thing standing between Cal Kestis and the dark side is Cal Kestis. Anakin Skywalker had Obi-Wan Kenobi at his side and the full Jedi Council above him, and he still fell. Cal has none of those failsafes, and he is asked to hold the line on his own. The other survivors read as pieces of the old order carried into exile. Cal Kestis reads as something else entirely. He is not the tail end of the old Jedi. He is the first working version of what comes after them. One of the most uncounseled decisions in recent canon Jedi history happens aboard the Mantis, moments before the crew's escape. The whole plot has been the search for a holocron listing for sensitive children across the galaxy, exactly the kind of list the old temple used to build itself. One child at a time. Cal has fought Inquisitors for it, almost died for it, and watched his crew bleed for it. Once he holds it in his hands on the Mantis, he cuts it in half, saying the future of those children should be trusted to the Force, not managed by a database. What the old temple would have died to protect, Cal Kestis just destroyed to keep safe. Cal has watched the Inquisitors chase that list across the galaxy. He knows what the Empire would do to those children if the holocron ever changed hands. He also knows the old temple system, the one that took Force-sensitive infants from their families and raised them behind Coruscant walls, is not a system he can restart from a junkyard ship. Cutting the crystal in half does not read as despair. It reads like a working decision from a Jedi who has thought hard about what recruiting looks like without a council behind it. By the closing chapters of that period, the same shift shows up in the crew's day-to-day work. Seer assembles her collection of recovered Jedi artifacts, on the guess that a future order will need the pieces. Cal networks with rebel cells across the Outer Rim and works alongside Mirren as a full partner, not as a Jedi supervising a suspect tradition. He is not rebuilding the temple, he is testing what comes after it. In the Rebels animated series, the other main survivor of that generation, Kanan Jarrus, spent those same years making a very different choice. Kanan took a single apprentice, Ezra Bridger, and taught him the old forms as best he could remember them. Kanan was recreating the Master and Padawan chain because it was the only shape of Jedi teaching he had. Cal, working in the same broader era, on the other side of the galaxy, is building something different. Not one apprentice, but a crew. Not a chain of teaching, but a network. One survivor was rebuilding the past he remembered. For the other, the work was a future he never got to see. Two survivors of the same generation answered the same question in two different ways, and only one of them was privately designing the order that would come after. The moment Cal Kestis cut the holocron in half, he was already deciding which order to build next. He is different from every other Order 66 survivor because his entire Jedi identity was forged after the old order had already died, not before it fell. But Cal was not the only survivor Order 66 left behind. One older Jedi still carried everything the old order was supposed to produce. Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't just another Jedi Master. He embodied the very best of the old Jedi, and the reason he became so powerful goes far beyond his lightsaber skills. So watch this video to find out.